Hello everyone, I hope you enjoyed my previous video on the series. Today we will be covering how to protect yourself and fight back against the Vita Carnis menace. This video will be basing this off of living in America since that's where I live. So yes, my solutions will partially be giving them some American justice. So without further ado, let's get into it. And also, this is just covering the first season of the series. This section of the tape will be recounting my childhood and how I came to the horrific realization of the threat we will be discussing today. If you wish to skip this and go right ahead into the main instruction part of this video, here is where you can fast forward to. As a child, I would see crawl growing in random areas and my mother using it as fertilizer for her garden. Overall, seeing it as a benefit. I would see trimmings as pets, also seeing some of my neighbors have them as pets, making me warm up to them more. Then I would see a meat snake at some point in my early childhood, and that thing horrified me a bit, with how big they can get and that they smelled pretty bad. But it eased my worries to learn they don't eat alive things like me, and that some businesses use them as well. Now for the mimic. I would honestly have nightmares about these things. Knowing something that looks like a human and can act like a human hunting people down and coming to kill them while they are sleeping honestly freaked me the hell out. Along with warnings on the news of mimic sightings and a decently high probability that at least one person I know in my life will be killed by one of these things, is the thing that put me on my warpath against their species. Damn all of the other benefits the rest of the species has, they have to go. Harvesters are a bit more of a distant threat in my childhood because the public do put up signs in the areas they are spotted, and I heard of kids getting snatched up by them or people just going missing in the forested areas, so my parents never let me go into heavily forested areas. And they're just not as creepy or personal as mimics are, them being just balls of meat with tentacles. With the host, I have really only heard about this one. I never interacted with it much in my early life since it is so rare. The closest I would get to interacting with it would be hearing how it affects people in school or on TV, having a notice that a host may be in the area. It would just be another thing to make me want to eradicate them. Monoliths are a very strange thing to see as a child after hearing about the other species that they just stand around in a circle doing nothing unless someone tries to disturb them. It started making me ask questions, wanting to know more about them. Then finally, I have heard rumors about an eighth part of their species called a singularity. The government has tried to keep quiet for a while. Now we don't know much about these things, but through this group I and you are forming, we will find out how to eliminate it. Now, onto what we will need to destroy this menace, and how to deal with each individual species.
Destroy their evil race until there's not a trace.
As a level 0 member, which is a basic civilian, and there is no shame in it, this is what I expect most of our members to be. If you are around your neighborhood and see a wild crawl in the area, if it is a small amount, unroot it and throw it in the trash. Or if you have a pet at home that might like eating it, see how they like it. And make sure to research beforehand so it is safe to give them. Or you may grind it up and use it as fertilizer to use on your own personal plants. If you are looking to sell it, make sure you only sell it to fellow members who will be responsible with it and not plant it back in the wild. If there is a large amount of crawl growing somewhere, notify your closest level 1 or 2 member who will promptly go to the location to remove and dispose of it. Now, moving on to level 1 members. With dealing with a large infestation of crawl, make sure you pry it off of whatever it is attached to and unroot it. After you have done that, break it into pieces and burn it. whether it is with a match or a lighter or just plain gasoline. Make sure to monitor it so it does not become a forest fire as well. Now, moving on to trimmings. Level 0s, if you see a trimming on your property, shoo them away, and if you have a constant problem with them, tell level 1 members and they will stake out your house for a few nights to take care of the problem. Now, I know that all of our members will not strictly adhere to our rules, but we do not want you keeping the trimmings as pets. And if you do have them as pets, always keep a collar on them, or they may be mistaken as a wild trimming and may be taken out by our higher members. And finally, if you see a herd or any kind of large groups of trimmings, note their location to tell your local group members so an extermination can be planned to make sure none of them escape. Level 1 members, we will now go over what you should equip yourselves with when hunting trimmings. Something easy to acquire to get rid of them are things like bats and sledgehammers. If you have any kind of netting, make sure to bring that along to stop them from escaping. If you have a license, bring along a small firearm as well to more easily eliminate them, or if they get out of your reach of you. Now, you will be called upon to eliminate any infestation of trimmings, whether they be for a member or not. We must take care of all of humanity, and we must help and protect other non-members as well. Any abandoned buildings or houses should be checked at least once a month by a small team of 3 to 5 members. And those same teams should check their local woodland areas for any nest that may be in the area. Now, let's move on to how members should handle a meat snake. 0s, if you see a meat snake, do not interact with it unless you find it in its infantile stage at a size you can still just step on it. Any larger, just remember the area it was in and report it to higher members. On the subject of an owned meat snake, do not kill them. They are owned by a business and we must respect that. And luckily, since they have such a rancid smell, we do not have to worry about anyone keeping them as pets. Ones, what you need to have to exterminate a meat snake is to carry around a gasoline canister on your patrols, and of course a lighter or a match to light them with. Make sure to stick around for the entire burn to make sure it is dead and so a fire does not spread. If you find a meat snake with a human skull, have your teammates hold it down while you or someone else rips the skull out of it so it can be turned into the authorities, because it probably is related to a missing persons report, some kind of criminal activity, or it may have gotten into a graveyard or something of the sort. Guns will not be useful on meat snakes since they have no centered weakness to destroy. Not even bats or other handheld weapons are necessary for this hunt. They are very simple to handle, so a small team of 3 to 5 is fine to go take care of it. Next is the main threat we will be facing up against and is the main reason this organization was formed. 0s, if you find a juvenile mimic, don't attempt to capture it or kill it. The most you should do if it is on your property is to shoo it off, because if it thinks it has to fight you, you could get severely hurt by them or even killed by this juvenile. Report to a higher member that there is one in the area so they can go hunt for it before it has a chance to mature into a full-grown mimic. 1s, if you run into a juvenile, if you have a firearm, we would suggest you attempt to kill it. But if you don't have a firearm, I would suggest you just note down the area and bring a team with you at a later date. They may be juveniles, but they are still dangerous, with the largest thing they can bring down in this form being a deer. We must wipe them out before they become a more dangerous problem. 0s, we fear for your safety around this enemy, so we strongly recommend do not seek them out, and if you have just a feeling that a mimic is following you, or you have found one in disguise, remember what it is wearing so our higher members can have something to go search for. Signs someone may be a mimic is if they have their hands and face hidden, if they walk strangely, if it looks like they are following someone, or if it looks like they are scoping out someone's home, like standing in front of their house or them looking for a way to get into a house. And if in the rare circumstance that you find one standing idle, it may be digesting a kill, so notify your local law enforcement immediately after you get a safe distance away from it. If you see any of these things, like I said, call your local police and stay hidden so they don't stick to you as a target. To protect yourself, stay alert if there is a mimic warning in the area. Do not live alone if you can help it. Make sure to lock all of your doors and windows. Never go out at night unless you are with at least 3 or 4 people. Mimics are less likely to attack a group. If you suspect a mimic is in your house, if you can, quietly leave and get help. If this is not an option, make sure you have some kind of self-protection in the house, whether that be a knife, a bat, or a gun. Make sure you have something heavy enough that you can barricade the door with, but not too heavy where you won't have time to move it before the mimic is alerted you know of its presence. Once you have done that, call the authorities for help and phone your local level 1 and 2 members because they may be able to get there before the police arrive. And if worse comes to worst, you may have to fight for your life. And finally, in the event that you think that there is a mimic hiding in your house, notify the fellow members, and in a few hours hopefully, we can rally a medium-sized group of 5 to 10 people of both level 1 and 2 members to search your house. If we are not able to immediately get a group, have you and your family leave the house and find a temporary living arrangement until one can be formed. This is all the advice we can give our lowest members. We hope this helps you survive a mimic encounter, and we honestly hope you never have to use this information. Ones, these will be the species you will have to be the most cautious around when you get called on a mission because of the mistakes that could happen on this kind of mission. You will have to have at least 1 level 2 member with you and have a medium-sized team of 5 or 10 guys go on this mission. The only exception to this rule is if you are on patrol and see an obvious mimic, someone getting attacked by one, or if you see it eating someone. If you see any of these things but you are alone for any reason, do not be a hero. Call other members for help as well as the police because it is a low chance you will be able to take it out even with a firearm. Do not shoot someone you suspect if you cannot 100% tell they are a mimic because it could be a civilian that might be scared or a criminal, and we do not intrude on police work. So if something like this happens and the target gets away, report it to the police. Now, we will be discussing level 2 members for the first time in this video, so let me explain who and what they are. They will be former military/police workers, and a level 1 can be upgraded to this status if they are trained by these members, but must also get approval from 3 to 5 members from this tier that view a test mission, or if they have witnessed a level 1 on multiple missions, and those members can decide to give them better training and eventually raise them to their status. Level 2s will be the leaders on dangerous missions dealing with mimics, because their job is to keep the lesser trained ones in line and to stop accidents from occurring, and will be the ones organizing a trimming extermination if a large nest is reported in the area. They will also be the only ones to have heavier weaponry besides the regular pistols and small arms of the level 1s. If a member has and wants to use heavier weaponry, they will have to go through training to become a level 2 to wield them on patrol. If a member refuses to comply, they will not be welcome into our organization. If our small organization grows to become larger than the local levels we plan on having right now, we may have even higher levels than this, but for now, this is the highest level a member can be at. Zeros, if you see this, run immediately. But unfortunately, your life may already be over once you see this. All I can say is make sure you scream your head off once it captures you to notify anyone else in the area so they can A, get out of there and report it to the police, and B, make them come towards you so they can identify it's an elder mimic and get that information out. Hopefully, the other people that see this thing don't get killed, and hopefully it only sticks to you as a meal. Other than that, that's all the advice we can give here, because there is not much a normal person can do about this thing. Ones, same as zeros, do not approach this thing. If you see it and it hasn't seen you, leave the area and call it in to us and the authorities. Even if you have 10 guys, do not try to kill this thing. It is much tougher than a regular mimic. We will make a plan on how to find this thing and take it out. We will need a maxed out large group of 25 or more guys, with putting as many 2s on this mission as possible, with you 1s going as backup. 2s, you will have to bring the heaviest weapons you have, and honestly, you may have to be prepared to die on these missions. We are hoping with your military expertise that we will be able to kill these monsters, and you will be in charge of directing any ones that go with you on these missions. Through these elder mimic hunts, we hope to find better and more efficient ways of killing these massive threats to our people. Now, let us move on and start to talk about the more area-specific species next. First, the only members that will have to worry about this species of the Vita Carnis are members that live in northern continents. So that would be North America, Asia, Europe, and Middle Eastern countries, and a little bit in the South America. Australia and Africa are fully safe according to our research. Now, zeros. We suggest not going to any forested areas that are too wild, and stick to any kind of trails that people have made. Make sure to watch out for any signs warning that harvesters are prevalent in the area. And if you see a harvester in the distance, first stay still and start throwing moderately heavy things on the ground to see if you are in its range. If you are in its range, try to find some kind of platform to stand on, like a large rock. Once you are in this position, you have two options. First is to call your local level 1 and 2 members about this threat, so they can suit up and come help you. Second, if you think it is safe enough, or if you are brave enough to start to try to leave the area, follow the rules that are set in the harvester explanation video. Lastly, if you are unfortunately stung by a harvester, you're done, and your fate is sealed. The best thing to do in this situation is to call someone in your family to tell them that a harvester got you, and if you can, tell them your location so they can notify the authorities and they at least know what happened to you and have a higher chance to find your body. If they are able to find you before you get absorbed, they can then take out the harvester so it won't kill anyone else, and they can recover your body to at least put some of your family at ease. This part is for both 1 and 2 level members. The equipment to use when hunting down a harvester is to have a very thick boots that go at least halfway up your calves, so the stinger can't pierce you. And then thick gloves, so when you are unrooting it, you don't get stung, a gun to take it out from long range, and some gasoline to burn it after you confirm its death. Once a location of a harvester is known, you will have a few days to find it because, surprisingly enough, they are mobile, so don't put it off for too long. It should only take a small group of 4 or 5 members to deal with the harvester. Once you are all suited up and find it, make sure to test where its range is and then take a few shots at it to kill it. After that, test if its stingers will activate, and if they do, take a few more shots at it. Repeat this process until it is dead. Once you have confirmed it is dead, then the team must unroot the bulb itself and all the roots and tendrils so that you can pile it all up and burn it. Of course, like the others, practice fire safety while doing so. Harvesters are pretty simple to deal with, you just have to make sure you are safe while dealing with one. Now, to our next target. Hosts are the rarest of the reproductive species in the Vita Carnis. only being found in North America. So all the other divisions in the other 16 continents won't have to worry about them. Zeros, if you feel any of the symptoms the spores from the host give you when infected, go to your nearest hospital right away. Or if you are not able to, have someone drive you there to get checked if you are infected. If you have someone in front of you who is showing symptoms and then all of a sudden want to leave the house to go somewhere besides the hospital, stop them from leaving and call the police so they can get restrained. Also, if you see someone that seems like they are in a trance, or if they just walk into the woods, try to stop them and talk to them to see if they are infected. If they are acting like they are in a daze of some sort, stop them and notify the police so they can test them as well. And if they are, the police will take them to the hospital to be quarantined until the spore's effects wear off. Ones and twos, if it's been reported that a host is in the area, first you must find out where the majority of the cases are happening, and once we find that out, search the wilderness around the area, and keep doing this until you either find the host or until cases in the area have stopped, which unfortunately means the specimen has moved on, and if so, notify the neighboring areas with members in them, that they may soon have a case of people being infected by host spores. The equipment you all will need when searching for hosts in the wilderness are, of course, some kind of gas mask to protect yourself from the spores. It can be a small team of 4 or 5 guys that go on this mission, but it would be ideal for all available members to go out and search. But no one is allowed on this mission if they do not have gas masks, or if we cannot provide enough for them. Any kind of gun should be fine being taken on this mission, but one new piece of equipment should be brought with you, which is a Molotov cocktail. This is for the opening attack on the host. Since it is rooted in the ground, it cannot easily move right away once found. Once the group identifies it, they will then surround it and pelt it with Molotovs to hopefully kill it, and if it starts to run or attack, lay into it with the firearms you have until it is dead. Make sure to confirm its death and put out any fires that the group has started. That should be all you need to know on how to deal with the hosts. The next one will be short, but still, we believe the public should still be informed on them. With monoliths, we don't know what the hell these things are, and there's only 7 of them on a lone island in Canada. We have gotten information that they are pretty chill unless someone starts screwing around in the area or attacks them. Speaking of attacking them, we got some more info that they heal at an astonishing rate. So right now, our group has no way of getting rid of them with the current amount of power we have. These will just have to be put aside until later on. We have even less information on the Singularities, and we only know that some governments want to keep them a secret, but we have gotten some info that has escaped to the public. They are human-sized black and red orbs that float around and can interfere with radio waves. And that's about all we know about them. I do apologize to all of the fellow members about these last 2, but we just don't have enough info or resources to handle them. But now we have to get on to a more difficult subject, which is dealing with what I like to call traitors to the human race. Now, unfortunately, some of our fellow members have thrown their lot in with the meat. We suspect this goes back decades. We found an article of cultists overfeeding a meat snake, making it grow to an enormous size, and it seemed to grow stronger with tougher skin, similar to the elder mimics. We also suspect that New Trier Co. is affiliated with this cult. They were kind of brazen with it, using the cult symbol for their flavor enhancer. We have brung these facts up to food suppliers, but they simply call us crazy and conspiracy theorists when we are trying to protect everyone. And I know we should not say this, but we also suspect that the flavor enhancer is so addicting because they are using spores from the host, and just modifying it somehow to get people addicted instead of what the sports usually do. We have even had to get some of our own current members off the stuff, since other rehab centers don't see this as a kind of drug addiction. At least right now, we are not at the level where we have to conclude to use force to stop this. But right now, we just have to protest its use and get this information and video out to as many people as possible. We even have some inside info that some cultists are part of many governments making sure to downplay the threat these things cause, making sure to stop local authorities from dealing with the problem, and probably paying off a few people here and there so they don't care about the problem either. We must weed them out and expose their treachery to everyone out in the sunlight, no matter what. The overall plan we have for this organization is a 3-phase plan. The first phase is to get at least level 0 and 1 members in every town and country in the world to protect all of humanity as best we can, and get to keep an eye on this species and cultists around the world. Phase 2 will then be boycotting and protesting any business or government officials that support the meat to further hamper the traders, as well as further investigating anyone we may suspect is a higher member up in the cult. Phase 3, the final phase, will commence once we have around 1% of every country's population registered as in our group. We have fellow members that are high enough in the government to execute our plans, and that we have found most or all of the higher-ups in the cult. Once these perimeters are met, these are our plans. 1. Eradicate any Vita Carnis that are in the wild to stop the reproduction of the species, only allowing it to grow in captivity. 2. Capture and subject any of these species to many experiments to try to find out exactly what the heck they are. And 3. Making laws against siding with the Vita Carnis. We will then investigate and jail all of the higher-ups in the cult for endangering the human race, and try to find out a way to destroy the Monoliths and the Singularities once we have done enough research on them. Our ultimate goal is to bend this species to our will, by keeping any of the useful variants like the crawl and meat snake, while eradicating all of the other species from the wild and captivity. We also plan to outlaw owning trimmings, and if we can't outlaw it, slowly phase out owning them by our own propaganda. We will stomp out this plague and keep what's useful about them on a leash to further benefit our species, showing that humanity will only and forever be number 1 on this planet. But the only caveat of this is if we deem these things to be a world-ending threat, we will go as far as to eradicate the good side of this species as well, wiping the earth clean of this infection. I hope you all enjoyed this instructional video about joining our organization and what your obligation will be when joining. Remember, this is all to keep everyone safe from these invaders. If any of you have any thoughts on how to improve our methods, make sure to write us. We read all of our mail. We look forward to you joining us. I really do hope you enjoyed this video, which was another long one for me. If you did, please subscribe to see more of my content, and like the video. Next, I will be reviewing all of Season 1 of Vita Carnis, and after that, at the time of me writing this script, 2 episodes of Season 2 are out. That will be getting a video for each of them. So make sure to stay tuned for that, and I will be seeing you guys next time. Bye, guys.